Greetings everyone and welcome. It's Sunday once more, which means it's time for another episode of the Captain's Table. To start off, you probably noticed, like the previous week, this last week, I only had one World of Warships video out for you guys. Even though last week I said that I was going to try and get back up to that 2 or even 3 World of Warships videos at a minimum. Problem, of course, goes right back to work. Now, this last week, work kind of hit me with a couple of changes that were particularly obnoxious and ate up a lot of my time and mental capacities. To start off with, work basically told me on Monday that starting on Tuesday, for 2 days out of the week, Tuesday and Wednesday, I was going to have to commute to a different property, as I had been effectively voluntold to go there and help out. Nobody asked me, they just simply said, go here, do this, your schedule is also changing. Instead of a 7 to 4 schedule, which is what I prefer to work due to traffic, they had me work a standard 8 to 5. And that meant, with the commute, which effectively took me through the heart of Seattle, or through the heart of downtown Bellevue, either way, I was going to run into traffic problems. Normally, it takes me about 12 to 15 minutes in the morning to get to work. I'll leave my place around 6:30 to 6:40, and I'll get there with plenty of time to clock in a little bit early. Commuting out to this location, which was 40 miles away, meant that at best, I would have to leave at 7:20, assuming there was no traffic. And starting after 7, realistically, starts the rush hour commuters. And you start running into traffic problems. Plus, there's always the possibility of having an accident in front of you. So, it means I have to leave at 7 in order to give myself plenty of time to get out there. So I'm not leaving much later than I would normally leave, but the commute is a lot longer, and coming back, once more in the heart of rush hour, is even longer. All told, I think I averaged a commute time of about an hour and 20 minutes each way on those 2 days, versus normally averaging about a total commute time for the day of 30 minutes. And I did the math, and it comes out that I effectively lost 4 hours of free time for those 2 days. That's free time that I would have been at home effectively relaxing and enjoying playing games, producing World of Warships content, and resting. But of course, that was only for 2 days. So, I still had Thursday to maybe get something out and produce some content for you guys. But Thursday morning, very tired, just couldn't get myself up early enough to record that content. And because of the heat, by the time the afternoon rolls around, the air conditioners are running full blast, traffic's out and about, and it can be kind of noisy to produce this kind of content for you. And I'm dedicated to producing, of course, the best quality content that I can. Figured, that's fine. I'll do something Friday morning, publish it for you guys that day. And, of course, with 5 hours left as the on-call maintenance person, I got called at 2:30 in the morning because the power had gone out at my building. A quick check to the electric company's map to see what was going on. Sure enough, building is part of an area of affected individuals, so it's not my buildings problem alone. And because of the Seattle City Light problem, I mean, there's nothing that I can realistically do here aside from what I ultimately had to go in and do, which is go in and be a glorified doorman. Show up, prop open one of the stairwell doors, and be available to open the front door and possibly the garage as people may need to enter or leave. The good news is, of course, this was in the middle of the night, so nobody was in the elevators. We didn't have an elevator entrapment, thank God. And not too many people were coming and going. I mean, this was a little bit after all of the bars and stuff closed. It's still only Friday morning, which means not too many people are out partying their asses off. They do have to work in the morning, at least some of them do. So it was somewhat quiet. Of course, the bad news is that woke me up 2 hours early, and Seattle City Light showing a power restore of 9 a.m. right when we're supposed to open for business. And if that ended up being the case, I'd have been there effectively from 3 a.m. all the way to the end of the day. Luckily, the way the city's electric grid is gridded out, Seattle City Light was effectively able to start transferring its customers over to the neighboring substations that were not affected by the substation that, well, effectively it was the substation blew up. This is the second time I've worked at a building where that's happened. But the power came back on after an hour, verified everything worked, and was able to leave. Now you might be wondering why it was important to prop doors open. Well, if you live or you work in a modern office building or a modern apartment building, you know, think about it. You probably only have a key to your actual unit door. But to get into the building, you don't have a key to get into the building. You have a fob. You have an RFID card. And you scan it, and it beeps most of the time. And it unlocks the doors for you. It unlocks the elevators. Think about what happens when the power goes out. That's a powered system. You no longer have access into the building. You can always leave the building, you're just not getting back in the building. So, I had to come in and deal with it. Now, I did get home, but I got home at about 4 a.m., which was basically only giving me, at most, an hour to sleep. And, well, I probably could have gotten away with coming in a little bit later. I didn't know if my supervisor was going to come in or not, as he just had his first grandchild and is very excited about that. So he was contemplating just staying home on Friday, having a 3-day weekend that he could spend with his new grandchild, his daughter, and his wife, whose birthday it was that weekend as well. He did come in, though, but so was I. So, minus 2 hours of sleep, very tired on Friday night. I think I just zonked out right around 7:30 or 8 o'clock and just slept right through. Didn't have to worry about being on call anymore, as that duty switched over to my coworker. Going forward into this next week, though, not too much changing. I'm not on call, which means I don't have to worry about getting woken up in the middle of the night, losing sleep. Ideally, work will not send me to another property 40 plus miles away through rush hour traffic, and I won't lose a lot of free time there. So the future looks bright for the channel, at the very least, getting back to a regular release schedule. Anyway, that's it for this week's episode of The Captain's Table. If you've got any suggestions for restaurants and pubs, breweries, or whatnot to visit down in Houston, Texas, and Corpus Christi, where I will be visiting in the beginning of November, leave a comment down below and let me know. And if you just like to let me know what you think of my week, you can also leave a comment down below. As always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.